Hey,
Hi. How's it going, Rebecca?
hey, good. By the way, for those watching, I've never talked to Brett before. This is like our first time meeting. So
This is our
I
first
kind of feel like
time.
I know you because, when you see somebody's work, you kind of feel like you know them in some way. But anyway, so
Social
thanks.
media has a pretty unique effect like that.
Yeah. I bet when people meet, I mean, I feel like what I was saying earlier that you must have a really easygoing presence because your photographs really communicate like that your clients are at ease and comfortable, and it just feels like they're so authentic in front of your lens. And I feel like that's a real skill. It's a skill as a photographer. So
Well, I like to think so.
yeah.
I know that I feel really uncomfortable in front of the camera, like including right now. And so I just try to place myself in my couple's shoes or my client's shoes, and just try to help them feel comfortable with the situation, help them laugh, help them feel goofy, help them just feel whatever they need to feel, so they can kind of let their guard down a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean it's a fun process, and I really enjoy that part of the job for sure.
That's awesome. I was at this photography conference. I think it was in April, and we kind of used each other as models throughout the conference, and it feels so. I remember at one point, like everyone in the group, I was like the one being photographed all of a sudden, and I really was like, I felt so vulnerable. I felt like I was just standing there naked. Like it was just it's hard to be the one being photographed. So to be able to have that skill to make people feel comfortable, I think that is so huge. I think that's so huge.
Thank you,
So
appreciate
I can just tell that from your work. So um,
well, I'm very glad. That's the goal. That is the goal.
well, I love what I'm seeing behind you. That looks I like want to see it closer. It looks so. And your
Oh,
desk looks all organized. I'm not even going to show you what my desk looks like because it does not look organized. It has like random very random things. Yours looks all perfect.
I try to keep a pretty clean desk.
Oh,
I do not like it to get, but it does. It gets really cluttered sometimes. But I try to keep it clean because I get distracted so easily
oh, me too.
that I have to get everything out of my field of vision. Otherwise, I will not get the work done I need to get done. But yeah, I got a little gallery wall there.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So, usually when I'm interviewing people, I ask them three main questions. I
Okay.
ask them to tell us about you as a person. And then my second question is usually to ask you to tell us about yourself as a photographer, maybe a little
Okay.
bit about your journey and how you got passionate about photography. And then the third question is to tell us about yourself as an Instaproofs user. And of course,
Okay.
anyone watching, we welcome all your questions. And now, is that water you're drinking? No, just kidding.
Yes, I'm drinking water. Oh my gosh,
I'm
Rebecca, I
like,
should have I should have gotten something else.
maybe you should have. Yeah, that could help the interview go well. But anyway,
Totally.
anyone who's watching is more than welcome to type in any questions you have for Brett. And so anyway, that's kind of the general outline of what I go with, but I'm totally go with the flow. So if you want to talk about random stuff, I'm totally game for that. So anyway,
Okay, this is too broad, Rebecca. You got to rein it in a little
okay,
bit.
okay,
Where should I
okay.
start? Where should I start?
Let's start with the first question. Tell us about you as a person. Like I
Okay.
saw that you're married and you have
Yeah.
two girls.
Two
And where do
girls.
you live?
So I live in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma,
Oh,
the thriving metropolis in the plains.
hey,
No thunder,
I'm a
thunder up.
Midwest girl. I grew up in Kansas.
Nice. Yeah. I actually lived in Kansas for about 3 years.
Oh, where in
Um,
Kansas?
Lawrence.
Oh, okay. I was like arch enemies with anyone who lived in Lawrence. I grew up in Manhattan.
Okay, Kansas State. That's my
Yeah.
brother-in-law actually went to school at Kansas State.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my dad, we lived there because my dad was getting his PhD there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
I'm a
Well,
Kansas
so yeah,
girl.
I live in Oklahoma City, but I don't really put that out anywhere. I travel all over the U.S. and a little bit abroad, and I love traveling. Oh, my mom just waved. Hey, mom.
Oh, hey, Mom. Hey, Brett's mom. Awesome.
But anyways, I feel very fortunate to be able to travel all over the U.S. I think you actually mentioned yesterday in a little promo. It looks like he's in California. I was in California last weekend, and just thinking back and reflecting on the beautiful landscapes of California, and posted that. So I guess I fool some people every once in a while with, they think that I'm in some exotic location, but nope, I'm in the blistering heat of Oklahoma right now.
Well, you know what, though? I feel like people from the Midwest just have, like, I feel like they just have a certain niceness to them. I don't know. I'm biased because I'm a Midwest girl myself, you know, because I grew up in
Yeah.
But
Well, interesting that you say that. So several years ago, and actually in kind of your preface to it before I joined and talking about in my about section, I took a class in New York City from a guy named John Dolan. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. He's a photographer. He's not necessarily a wedding photographer, although he does shoot weddings, and he shoots them very, very well. But I went down to New York. I took a week-long class with him at the International Center of Photography.
oh, wow. That's
And
awesome.
it was a really fun class. It was just in the evenings, and so I really just kind of had the daytime to just kind of beat around the city and explore a little bit. But I have a Rolleiflex. It's like a 1950s camera, and it's really cool and
Nice.
vintage looking. And so one of the I just kind of had a personal project while I was there to photograph people, and so I just approached strangers and asked if I could take their portrait, and some said yes, some said no. But I was actually really surprised. You know, you think of New York as being like a very unfriendly place, and Oklahoma, like the Midwest, as being super friendly. But what I
Yeah.
realized is New York is just faster. It's like fast, but the people there are actually quite friendly. Like my experience chatting with them, or like whenever I saw people, they were really excited to talk with me. But in Oklahoma, it's just slower, and so everybody says hey and waves. You just don't get that in New York.
Yeah.
But you know, I got 32 beautiful portraits
Awesome.
of some really friendly New Yorkers.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
It stopped for a second. You're back, though.
I'm back. Okay, well, I'm not visible on my end. How do I?
Oh, did you have a call come in?
I did. I had a call.
Okay. All right.
How do I?
So when that happens to me, I can't see myself for the rest of the video. So do you want to stop and then start again? Because
I don't really care if I can't see myself. It's probably
Okay.
better that way.
I'll tell you if you have any like boogers or anything like
Okay,
that.
please. Thank you. That's
But yeah, I should have warned you about that before. That happens to me all the time. And so this time I finally remembered to put the do not disturb on my phone because,
okay.
but I don't
Rookie
even know
mistake.
if that works, but no, it's okay.
Rookie mistake. First live
But I can
video
totally
airs.
restart it if you want to see. Do you want to see yourself?
No, that's okay.
Okay,
That's okay.
but you look great. You look great.
Yeah,
See, your
anyways,
mom will say you look great too. See, yeah.
So I made this, so I was just making these portraits, and so I don't know, I can't see what you can see.
Go higher. Oh, there, I can see it now. There. Oh, beautiful.
And so.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I can totally see.
Anyways, so I just kind of rolled around, and for these people, I just took one. I just said, "Can I take your portrait?" I took only one photo of each person.
One?
So there are no redos. Basically, what I asked is, I just asked them to look straight into the lens. I wanted to see their eyes.
Oh, I love that.
And I tried to just step back. I didn't want to give them any more direction other than that. I wanted to see their eyes, but that was it. Although one of the pictures I just showed, he had his sunglasses on, so I didn't get to see his eyes. But I wanted to, there are no do-overs. I didn't really take an opportunity to direct them at all, but it kind of just, I wanted to see who they were, if they were comfortable, who they perceive themselves to be. And sometimes whenever you have a camera pointed at you, you perceive yourself a little bit different. You put on a little bit of a front. I know I do.
Yeah.
And so just a little bit of an interesting character study while I was shooting these people to see, okay, what is a natural reaction that people have to a camera without any direction? And I enjoyed seeing kind of how people responded to that.
You know, that's interesting you say that, because I was reading something that Annie Liebolt said recently, and she said that she felt like it was a misnomer that photographers were supposed to make their clients feel comfortable in front of their lens, because she said if you just let them be, you can see more of who they are.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with both, you know, like I mean, there's a time and place for everything. Obviously, if you're doing a wedding, you want the bride to feel comfortable. But
yeah,
that's such an interesting project. I love
there's
that.
There's a fine line. Was that part of her master class that she was talking about that?
I haven't taken her master class, but
I haven't either.
And I can't even remember where I read it, but I know it was her.
Yeah.
And it just caught my attention because I sometimes go to extremes I kind of like make a fool of myself sometimes to make people feel comfortable. But I guess if you're Annie Leibovitz, you could kind of just do what you want.
You do what you want, yeah. Well, I share my office with a makeup artist, and she works with so many photographers. And so we'll talk every once in a while, and she'll show me a picture. But I think, you know, like, there is a really fine line between directing and making people feel comfortable and really finding out who they actually are. And I always tell her, like, as I've progressed in my journey as a photographer, what I've realized is whenever I bring like certain poses or ideas to a photo shoot, I'm really photographing them as I see them, not as they are. So what I've really tried to do is kind of take a step back, appreciate them as a person and who they are, and really allow them to shine through. And I mean, it's really hard to do that. Especially on something as high impact as a wedding day. You know, everything is moving really quickly, and brides come in with a certain set of expectations. But what I really want to do
Pinterest boards and everything. Yeah, how do you deal with that when they're like, I want this shot and this shot and this shot?
I usually don't look at them, and I just say, looks great. No, I mean, I want to manage their expectations, so I always entertain their ideas. And if they have specific thoughts or pictures that they want to shoot, of course I want to take those for them. But then at the root of it, I want to get beyond that, and I want to photograph them for who they are. And I find that they always like those pictures more. But I mean, if people have requests or they want to share some vision of someone else's photographs, I always want to entertain those ideas and meet their expectations. They're the client after all, and well, I want to honor my vision, and the way that I photograph. Also really want to honor them as a person, and
Well, I kind of feel though, once you get to the level you're at with, I mean, your body of work is so amazing, and you know, you've been featured everywhere. You kind of have, you know, it's like they're coming to you because they know you know what you're doing.
I don't know if I know what I'm doing all the time, but yeah.
Well, they think well, you do. Well, I mean, actually, I think that's a good topic too. Like, I feel like not knowing what you're doing, or kind of leaving the door open for spontaneity and to, you know, capture them. I think that is what brings the, you know, the creative, the really powerful photos to life. And so I feel like that is like important to not know what you're doing in some sense, so that you leave that space for the magic to happen, you know?
Sure.
I feel like I'm a photographer as well, and not your level, not here with you.
I don't know what level I am, but
well, not with your years of experience. And anyway, I really admire your work, is what I was trying to say.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But when I first started, I remember, I'd like have these poses I was trying to recreate, and I was like, you know, really wanting, kind of nervous about that. And then I realized, like, it's not about that. It's about helping them feel comfortable, and then they come into their own poses.
Yeah,
I know,
totally.
But I totally agree with you. So that's so awesome. Well, wait, I have to back up a little bit and ask you, how old are your girls?
Okay, so my daughter Ava is turning 7 in 2 weeks, June 27th. And then Liv is 9 months old.
Oh, that's so awesome. I have June babies too. Both of my kids are June. Yeah, in fact, right now, both of my kids are the same age, and they're not twins because they were born less than a year apart. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my son turned 11 on Monday, and my daughter is still 11, and her birthday is on Wednesday, a week from today.
My wife would not love the early childhood experience that I'm sure that you had.
It was very crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and we would always get like people saying like giving us judgmental little comments.
No judgment here. Only I'm only just impressed that you made it out.
Made it
alive.
through. Made it through.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fun to have a birthday coming up. What does she want for her birthday?
She wants glass slippers.
Oh.
Yeah. And she's been riding that glass slipper train for quite some time. I think we saw them at Dillard's when we were walking through the mall.
They actually exist?
I mean,
it's
not
just like
real glass, Rebecca, but but we saw them like whenever we were looking for a winter coat in like January.
Oh.
And I mean, she mentions them at least twice a week now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so. Is she getting glass slippers?
I have to make sure that we can find them. I don't know. Yeah, but we're gonna Amazon something. I'm assuming she's gonna get some glass slippers.
That's so fun. Oh, yeah. That's really fun. Is that your wife saying something in the background?
No, I don't know.
Oh, I thought I heard someone in the background. Oh.
Nobody here.
Oh, nobody there. Okay. Sorry, I'm hearing stuff.
Well, this is like, it's a common office, and so.
Oh, okay. I just heard some voices in the background.
There's some other doors. Yeah, there's some people right outside my door, it sounds like.
Cool. Well, it sounds like you get to work around, if you share an office space with a makeup artist, that's cool that you get to share space with another creative.
Totally. I love it. It's really fun. We just get to talk about, just creative industry, and I mean, we're in different sides of it, and it's just really fun to be able to bounce things off of each other. And she's in the middle of a really huge project right now, and it's fun.
Oh, cool.
Seeing other entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, kind of pursue their dreams and just the pain that they go through to make those dreams a reality. So it's been really awesome.
You know what? If you're not doing something you're passionate about, it's just, I can't, why live?
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
I guess my dad is passionate about taxes. I didn't get that gene, so I'm not.
I could not do taxes.
No, not me neither. He asked me many times to do them, come work for him, and I said, I just don't think it's the right fit.
Yeah. Well, at least you have someone to do your taxes, right?
Totally. I know. I'm really lucked out in that area. That's for sure.
That is very good to know a good accountant. Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know my mom tried to get me to change my major to like something more practical, because I was an art major until like the day I graduated. Are you sure you don't want to be an English major, Rebecca? And I was like, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I actually was. So I minored in accounting and majored in business management and art. I mean, arts really were not part of it. I did take one photography class in college. But otherwise, I kind of got into photography late in college. I really did not know what I wanted to do. My grades in accounting really, really suffered. And whenever I found photography, and I fell in love pretty quick with it. And I actually told my dad after my junior year of college, or was it my senior year of college? So I did 5. I did a victory lap. And it was after one of those years. It might have been after my first senior year. And I said, I really want to go to photography school. And at the time, Brooks Institute out in California was pretty prestigious and actually still around. It's now closed and no longer in Santa Barbara. And I actually started speaking with the admissions office, and I really wanted to make the move out there. Weddings were not even on the radar. It was more so I loved landscapes and just shooting, artful pictures of and scenes. And I told my dad kind of what I was thinking, and he said, that sounds awesome. I love that you're into photography. He said, I think you should do it. You just will need to pay for that school by yourself, and then you can pay me back for the last 4 years of your undergrad. And
what?
And I said,
I was starting to be like, good job, Dad, and then I'm like, what?
Well, no, I mean, he's always been incredibly supportive, but obviously, he wanted, he's spent a significant amount of money helping me go to college. He was my scholarship, and so I wanted to honor that and graduate with a degree. And I don't regret. I don't look back on that. I have a lot of friends and peers who went to Brooks and other art schools, and they have obviously great experience, but I don't know that they took away what you think you're going to take away from art school in that respect. In terms of running like a wedding photography business, I think a lot of it you have to learn on the fly. The business side of things, I don't even really think that they get into so much.
No, I don't. My experience with being an art major, not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that I graduated with business management. I think it really paved the way for me to understand business to a degree and be able to actually pursue it and make good decisions as I've kind of built my business. Not all great decisions, but be able to really look at the way that I'm spending money and stuff like that. So it's been really great. And how to charge for my work and how to actually make money.
So will you tell us a little bit about that? First of all, how long have you been in business?
Okay, so I incorporated in 2013 or 2012.
Oh, wow.
6 years. 6 years.
Wow.
And I really just kind of shot on the side prior to that. I think I'd shot maybe 20 weddings before that. From 2009 to 2012, I think. Let's see. I saw my first bride as an actual incorporated LLC on here. I don't know if she's still here. Claire, were you 2012 or 2013? I think she's 2012. I don't know if she's going to chime in. If she's still here. But
that's so cool.
So I incorporated at that point, and I just kind of wanted to give it a go, see if I could make a career out of it. I don't remember what is the follow-up. Where was I going with that, Rebecca?
Oh, I was just saying, how long have you been in business? That's all.
Yeah. So I think that's 6 years full time.
Yeah. Wow. That's like, I feel like that's not a long time to be in business for all the,
It feels like a long time sometimes.
So, what kind of equipment do you shoot with?
Yeah, a great question. So I shoot primarily with film. I have a whole slew of film cameras, and each one kind of serves a little bit different purpose. I see things a little bit differently with them, but my bread and butter is with the Contax 645, and that's primarily what I'm shooting with on a wedding day or in a portrait session. And I also shoot with the Rolleiflex, like I mentioned before.
Is that the one where you look down?
Yeah, you look down. Although I have a viewfinder, so I don't have to look through it.
Okay.
And so I view it the same way. I get a little bit mixed up on a wedding day because if you look down, you're reversed.
Oh.
And so you really have to train your eye, and going back and forth between different cameras, you're looking at it and you kind of go backwards, and so it kind of gets confusing. So just for ease and speed, I choose to use the viewfinder.
So how many cameras do you bring with you on a wedding?
Too many. My assistants just despise me for that reason.
Like how many?
Okay, so I have 2 Contaxes. I have color in one, black and white in another. I have the Rollie. I have a Leica, and then I have a little tiny camera called the Black Slim Devil that is almost like disposable.
Devil?
The Black Slim Devil.
I've never heard of that.
It's a plastic camera. I get some gems with it. I've got a few photographs on my Instagram feed, but I mean, most of the time they're throwaways.
Oh, okay.
But when you get one, they're keepers. They're like really special to me. And then I shoot with the Holga as well.
Wait. Are we up to 6 right now?
I don't know. I'm not even counting.
I think that's 6. I'm counting.
And then I also have a Nikon D. I don't even know what my digital is. It's a Nikon D810, I think. 800, 810.
So you're like 7 cameras. You're bringing 7 cameras. So wait, you mentioned assistants. So how many assistants do you have to bring to manage that level?
Just one assistant. Just one. And their primary job is rolling film.
Okay.
Just kind of helping me manage the equipment, rolling the film so that I can I don't miss a beat whenever I'm shooting film because they're rolling it for me. Once I finish a roll, they have a fresh one ready for me, and I can really click it out. So
are they handing you a new camera in between rolls, or are they just loading the camera?
So whenever I finish a roll, I whip out the film, I hand it to her. She has a fresh roll ready for me, and I plop it in, and we're ready to go. So I mean, it's like the process is like 3 seconds long. It's really quick. Okay.
So are you shooting like a 16? How many shots per roll are you shooting?
Yeah, 16. Well, 16. On the Contax 16. On the Leica, it's 36. and then on the Rolly it's 12.
Okay, so like, when you're at a wedding, at what point, when do you use your digital? Are there certain times when you use your digital?
Yeah, it depends on the wedding, and it really just depends on light. If it's a pretty low lit scenario,
Okay.
then digital is just the properties of digital are gonna be better suited for the environment.
Okay.
So like there's a couple different, so like a ceremony, I cannot light a ceremony. You know, most churches have pretty strict rules on that. And so if it's an indoor ceremony and it's a low lit area, then I'll be shooting digital because I cannot light it.
Right.
For receptions, I have some video lights that I will light up the area with, and I'll shoot black and white. Or if the bride is more inclined to color photography, then I'll shoot digital on those scenarios. So really it just kind of depends on the light that's available, knowing the strengths of my cameras and, you know, what is going to be better suited for any given situation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought of a question back in the first category that I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
So, do you care if I jump around a little bit?
No, jump around.
Okay, so when you're photographing your own family, your own children, tell me about that. Do you do it? Do you not do it? What do you do?
I do it, and Ava like despises it. In fact, I have this one. I have to like really catch her off guard, or I have to bribe her with like mad treats or gifts because she's usually not all about it.
Glass slippers, hello.
Glass, I know, right? Well, we have to save
those.
We have to save
shots,
for
right?
birthdays. But yeah, I mean, I love photographing my girls. I would say that I don't do it as much as I should, though, which is so disappointing. I shoot them more with my phone than I do with my film cameras. But what is it? It's a little point and shoot camera. It's a Yashica T4.
Oh.
And it's like it's like a grandma camera, like 100%. And it just has like a little onboard flash, a little lens that pops out whenever you turn it on.
Yeah.
And I love shooting my girls with that because it's like a real snapshot kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
But I have this really cute picture of Ava. She was in her room. She was singing. She had Minnie Mouse ears on. And she was just like sitting on her bed, just kind of like lounging across her bed. And she was singing. And she was like playing with something on her bed. And I like snuck in because I knew that the moment that she saw me, she would stop and she'd be like, "Daddy."
Yeah.
So I like, but the photo is like perfect because she spotted me and the flash like takes a minute to register. And so she has this look like, "Are you serious?"
That's so great.
Difficult.
Are you printing them out, or what do you do for your family photos?
Yeah, so I've got this little glass box that I've filled with Polaroids or little Instax Polaroids or prints that I make.
Cool.
Yeah, so they're just kind of on display in different places in the house. But yeah, definitely, I love printing. I don't print as much as I should, but I love, whenever I'm placing an order, I'll usually throw a couple in for myself and for my wife.
That's awesome. I have been like overthinking how to do photos for my kids. That's a whole other interview for a whole other day. But anyway,
yeah,
I spent like the whole day yesterday like trying to figure out what album to put these photos in, and it was just driving me crazy. Anyway, but okay.
It's hard, but one of my greatest joys in having them around is every once in a while my daughter will, like, I'll catch her and she'll be going through the glass, just kind of looking at the pictures. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, like, obviously digital is like really great, but I find that I'm really educating a lot of my clients. They're like, why are we, and not my wedding clients, but my portrait clients, or why are we not getting all the digital images? And of course they can buy them, but it's going to price pretty ludicrously if I'm honest, because I really want to put the emphasis on the print and those moments where, because how often do we really go through our phones? And some people maybe do it a ton, but I mean, they just get loaded with, I think I have 10,000 pictures on my phone. So I love it. It brings me a lot of joy whenever I see those disheveled or out on the floor or whatever.
I love it. I just love it when the kids, I find them like looking through their books I just love it so much. It makes me so happy. And I digress. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you.
Oh, we can keep talking about you, Rebecca.
No, but anyway, I really, earlier you were saying that something about learning to price yourself. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay.
And how you got there.
Like, where to begin? I mean, it's like a really difficult subject. It's a really difficult subject. And sometimes I think even people that are priced and feel that they're priced adequately go back and forth. It's a really hard subject.
Yeah, it totally is.
And especially for something like photography where there's really no barriers to entry. Yeah. And all you need is a camera and a desire to shoot, and you got yourself a business. And and you've got different people, and I think it's so great that there are avenues for people to make money without that being their primary means of income. Yeah. But at the same time, like, how does that affect people who it is their primary means of income? Totally. So it's not something like oil where the price of a barrel is the price of a barrel. It's a lot of people value it very differently, and so and that's something. And it's kind of an ongoing process. But I think starting out, I knew that I wanted to be in an upper tier. I really wanted to value my work, and even back then, I wouldn't say that my work was valuable necessarily, but I really wanted to value it. And I just looked at other people and found that I thought that they were in a little bit of a rut with the clients that they were reaching. And I mean, obviously, there are going to be clients that fit every single income spectrum, and everybody needs photography, and so it's good that there are people that fill each of those needs. Yeah. But I remember whenever I started, I was still shooting on the side and considering going full time. And one of my buddies here in Oklahoma, I remember asking him, I thought a bride had inquired with me, but I think that my prices whenever I first started, I think I was charging about $3,000 was my base price for kind of like 8 hours of coverage and then the disc of images. Which, I mean, back then even was up there for sure. I think that's kind of like in line with where a lot of people in my area, they start their prices even today. And so a bride was like, I love your work. I really want you to be my photographer, but my budget is like $1,800. And like she was inquiring in March, and I think her wedding was in September. So there's a little bit there's some distance between her date. And I asked my friend, who at that point was kind of somebody that I really looked up to in the industry and still do. But I said, man, what do you think I should do? Should I take the job or stay true to my pricing? And he said, take the job. He said, this isn't
you were telling me a different story.
This isn't where you think it's going. He said, take the job. He's like, my recommendation to you would be take all you can take. Take it all. Build your portfolio, build your client base, gradually get your pricing up to where you want it to be. But he was like, I would take it. And so I really thought about that. I consulted my wife. I looked at what my goals were for my business. And I said, I decided not to take his advice. So I passed on that girl's wedding. I kind of just said, I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to work out with the budget. Here are a couple of names of some photographers that I think will fit what you're looking for. Yeah. In this particular instance, it worked out. Now, there are so many of these brides that come that I say no to, and I don't end up booking that day. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, I really wish I'd had that income. It'd be nice to be working on that day. Yeah. But then like for that particular story, a bride came along and she hired me for my base package and then added a ton of stuff on. And so my income for that day ended up being, 4 or 5 times what it would have been had I taken that job.
Yeah, and then you're not burnt out.
And so actually, that photographer I asked, he had a serious burnout a couple of years ago, and he's back. I mean, like, I think that you go through these different, as a creative, it's hard to stay creative sometimes. Yeah. And whenever you're constantly meeting people where they want to be rather than knowing where you want to be and really staying true to that, it does get hard. You start to feel underappreciated, and you kind of fall out of love with what you were in love with at one point. And so I just kind of made a decision that I want to stay true to my prices, and and really value where I was, and it's worked out well for me. I really feel fortunate, but at the same time, I've been very hungry to grow as a photographer. I'm always wanting to educate myself and learn new techniques and learn from other people as well. I've never really wanted to be stagnant and find a groove. I always want to be growing, and so I find that with my growing prices, I think that my skills and my approach is also growing, and in each of my clients, as they're spending more money, they're getting a little bit more out of me as well. So
that's awesome. And so you mentioned you don't want to get stagnant. So what do you do besides get continuing education, or what types of continuing education do you do to keep that creative flow going through your life?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love listening to podcasts.
Oh, me too.
There's some really great ones. Musea, and I haven't listened in a long time, but Musea, Michael Howard had a great podcast, and he interviews some amazing people. I recently started listening to, Simply Sprouting Photographer or something like that. Sprouting,
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if you're familiar with that one, but just learning from some people who are really great at what they do. And so I just have a little note section, and I just kind of go through, and I have notes from all these people, and I just try to implement and take action steps whenever I hear something that I'm like, oh wow, that is a genius idea, and just try to take some action steps and build these little things into my business as I hear them. And that's the biggest way. But I mean, just continue education. So going to workshops, and not going to workshops for portfolio builders. I think that's the wrong workshop to attend. Going to workshops from masters who really understand their craft, have been around for a lot longer than I have been. I mean, hey, I can put together a killer styled shoot and have 10 photographers come and get some great content for their website, but they're going to learn nothing as a photographer.
Yep.
And so learning from really great photographers who have been around, who've mastered their craft.
So who are
Guys
your
like John
photographers
Dolan.
that you admire? Like what photographers are your inspiration?
So I've been to 3 workshops. I went to John Canlis's back actually right before I incorporated.
Awesome.
And I mean, he's just a business guru. While I think our approach is similar but different, color story is quite different, but I just love his approach, the way that he treats people and the way that he values his clients.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy just understands business, and I really grew a lot just kind of understanding the back end of things from him.
Yeah.
Jose Villa he is
Yeah.
just a creative genius. His work is amazing. And so I went to his workshop in Mexico.
In Mexico. Awesome.
In Mexico, yeah, it was beautiful, and I got to meet just some amazing wedding industry folks there. I met just some amazing planners and some people that are on blogs, and just the networking that happened at that workshop was, bar none, it was probably the most significant thing that I've done for my business in terms of getting to know the right people.
That's awesome.
It's been really influential. So just getting to know like Shira and Martha Stewart, she's the Real Weddings editor, getting to know her and then continuing that relationship afterwards. And some other Summer Watkins with Gray Lights, and now the Mrs. Box. Just some amazing people. And then obviously watching Jose work and getting to hear, his journey as a photographer. And then John Dolan, who I mentioned earlier, he's the one that I went to 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and just really changed the way that I approach a wedding day. And I mean,
that's awesome.
Just
how do you approach a wedding day?
Okay, so I got this from John, and there's a fine line. Everybody has to come with their own level of expertise. I mean, everybody has to find their own approach. Yeah. And so I don't want to take John's approach and make it I have to make my own approach.
Yeah.
But one of the things I learned from John, whenever we went out shooting one day, one evening, and ICP, International School of Photography, is right across the street from Bryant Park. And so there were like tons of people out there, and we just went out. I think there were maybe like 8 people in the class, and then it was John and Holger Thos. He was also an amazing photographer. And he was like, okay, Brett, your exercise, I want you to arrange us. We're going to do a family portrait. this is a fan, like all the class, the people that were in the class, and then Josh and Holger, and okay, we're taking a family portrait. And so I went into wedding mode and I started to arrange them. And I think like and so he just started being like a crazy guy. Like he was like misbehaving. Like I was kind of getting angry at John. I was like, dude, just
I could totally see him doing that. I could totally
follow my direction. Like get in. I want you to stand right here. And he kind of started charging me, and he was like, dude, you're missing the point. He was like, you're missing the gold here that I'm trying to give you. And he was like, sometimes people don't want to take your style of photograph. And so you're photographing them as you want them to photograph. And he was like, hey, get me in line, but also like you're missing some really amazing photographs. You're missing family members looking at me, John, acting like a crazy fool, rolling their eyes. And he was like, and so I like had this visual of the most amazing family portrait that I've never taken. And I was like, you're right. I'm trying to control too much of the wedding day. I'm trying to own too much of it. I'm trying to dictate how I want people to respond, or I'm trying to dictate the scene 100%. And there's a place for that. Obviously, we want to have that really nice, put together portrait. But if you go look at John's portfolio, he has a lot of family portraits. And you don't see that from a lot of photographers these days, wedding photography. You don't see family portraits. But he has a lot on his website, and they're beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm going to hire him to take my family portraits this year.
Yeah, he's really great.
You know what? When I look at other people's photos, I'm like, my family is too crazy for them, and we don't look like those people.
Yeah.
And we aren't, like, dressed like those people. And, like, when you see somebody who can make something beautiful, no matter who they're photographing, whether they look like they're a model or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, no, of course that is a good picture because they look like models.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
But yeah, and just seeing that he embraces that gives like someone confidence to hire.
Be who they are. So, I mean, that really changed my focus. And so from that point on, I've really began to, and it's hard. I will say this, it is hard because to a degree, a wedding is a wedding is a wedding. And a lot of my clients have expectations based on the 6 years of work, and they see beautiful, thoughtful details and very airy portraits. I mean, like super dreamy, and I want to deliver that to them, but I also want to allow a space for them to be themselves. And so what I really want people to like know is that I want to perceive them, and I want to like allow a space where they can be themselves. And so that kind of comes from just my openness with them and that ability to have a relationship with them. But I really want to just come with a blank slate to a wedding. I don't want to have this template, this preconceived idea of how I need to photograph the day. And obviously, like I said, it is really hard. Like I say that, it is hard. It's so much easier to say than it is to do it, because once you arrive, that like internal checklist kicks in. And it's really hard to keep from falling into that, but just being aware of the things that are happening, and trying to come with a really blank slate and just being open to who the people are that are in front of you and photographing them as they are. And then whenever there's a time to say, hey, direct a little bit, but really being open. And I've found that some of my most favorite photographs have been a lot more truer to who the people are than.
And then they recognize that.
And I think, they recognize that. Yeah.
And then also, I feel like when I'm shooting a family, like, somebody who doesn't know that family might not think that that's a great picture.
Yeah, totally.
But the people who know them are like, oh my gosh, I know that family, and that kid never smiles. Like, I had a client, and her oldest son is severely, autistic and pretty depressed, and just to get a picture of him with a genuine smile, she was like crying. She was so happy. So it doesn't matter what. I totally get you. Okay,
but it's hard, and I don't even care about impressing those other families to a degree.
Totally.
Like I want a photograph that really represents your family or your wedding day.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we live in such an Instagram social media world where we want to impress everybody. But so there's that tug of war there. And I mean, like I said, it is not easy to approach And I fall back onto my old ways every once in a while, but that's my hope and that's my desire for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I just looked at the clock and I cannot believe we've been talking for almost an hour.
Get out. Okay.
when I do lives, like Instagram will kick you off after an hour. So before it kicks me off, I just want to talk about Instaproofs. And so tell me about how you use Instaproofs in your business and tell me all the fabulous things that you love about Instaproofs.
Yeah, Instaproofs has been amazing. In fact, I think so crazy. It is actually, so Instaproofs is what turned me on to John Canlis. And then Canlis he's what got me turned on to film and weddings. And so I go back with Instaproofs quite a long time, a lot longer than I've actually been in business.
Oh, wow.
And it has been for sure probably one of the most amazing tools for me, because I want to sell prints. I don't want to focus on the digitals. I want to sell prints, and so Instaproofs really just sets you up to have those tools. The
pajama profits, like John says, right? The pajama profits. Isn't that what he says?
So just those like the email tools, the sales tools, and universal sales, and being able to send out emails, and then Instaproofs has really grown to become more aesthetically pleasing as well over the years. I mean, I always tell my friends who are with some of the other proofing solutions that they're really missing out on the power of selling prints. I mean, Instaproofs has really nailed that down. And I mean, if you go look at some of the other websites, even Instaproofs, like big bold letters, is sell more prints. Like that is their tagline. And you go look at anybody else, and selling is not even the first. It's not on the radar for any of these other companies. So they might have some aesthetic beauty, but I think that a lot of that is really just surface. I think as photographers,
I agree.
Especially photographers who want to be selling prints, Instaproofs makes it super easy. It just lays it all out there.
What's the most surprising, like through Instaproofs? It's funny how sometimes you think, oh, they're not going to order anything, or what's the most random order you've gotten?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot. I don't know. Or what's just something,
yeah, well, I mean, one of my favorite things is whenever I do show people, so I take a lot of pride in my prints, and like quality control is really important to me. And printing is actually a really difficult process. And I don't think a lot of people know that. It is like very scientific, there's a lot of chemicals involved.
Yes.
And so quality control is really important to me. And there are many times where I say, my clients are never going to see this print. Hey, company, you're reprinting this for me. And some companies have a better track record than others, and I've bounced around a little bit finding the right lab for me. So whenever I'm able to really explain that quality control, even to my couples that do have the digitals, whenever they spend thousands of dollars on prints, that makes me really happy. And I love, so that always surprises me whenever I get really large orders from brides and grooms. But like nothing makes me happier, because I know that it's something they're really prioritizing and going to really treasure.
Yes, and that that is going to be an heirloom.
Yeah, totally.
And it's going to be, it's going to make them happy every day.
Yeah.
When they see it on their wall, and just that's what makes me happy when I think about, why do I love being a photographer, is that knowing that they're going to have a little bit of joy every time they walk past that picture and remember that moment. But
Justin, one of my grooms, he said, Brett is the man. Justin, that is not true.
Okay, we haven't gotten any questions from anyone. So does anyone have any questions? Or you could tell us. One time when I was interviewing John Canlis, someone was like, dude, do you work out? And he was like, no, this is my dad bod. And anyway, it was funny. So you guys can ask whatever you want, maybe. And I think Instagram's going to cut us off in a minute. So maybe we should just, if we don't get any questions, I'll just say goodbye. This wasn't so bad, right?
It wasn't so bad. But I mean, in terms of Instaproofs, I love Instaproofs. Adam has been amazing. The customer support is, it's the best customer support I've ever experienced with any company that I've dealt with as a photographer. And so I love Adam, and he's always adapting, and he's always hearing my requests. And so if anybody has questions about Instaproofs, I'm a feature photographer with them. They're welcome to reach out directly to me. I love helping people see the potential of selling prints and using Instaproofs as best as they can.
Hey, do I have permission to repost your photos on the Instaproofs feed? Is that okay?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Do it.
I just wanted to ask you before I forget. Okay, Jake Meyer says, what recommendations do you have for somebody who wants to get into film?
Jake, well, first of all, Jake, you got to holler at me because we still got to go get that cup of coffee / not coffee drink. Anyways, I mean, to get into shoot, okay, so film, you have to understand what you're doing, like on the technical side of things. So you need to understand light. You need to understand like how it relates to the space that you're in. And so digital.
By
really,
the way, you just gave us the 2-minute warning.
Okay, so Jake, this might be a conversation for another time, but you got to just get out there and shoot it. You have to just get out there and shoot it, learn what it does and how it responds to light differently than digital. But really, you have to understand light, and you have to understand your camera and exposure.
So is there a specific class you would recommend?
The class of Hard Knocks, just doing it. That's the class that I learned on. I think there's no better way to learn than by figuring out your mistakes and just growing from those.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I've had a blast talking to you, Brett.
Yeah,
I'm always like, maybe I should call and talk to them before we go live in front of all these people. But anyway, you're just so easy to talk to, and I can see why your clients just love working with you. And I just love your work. And thank you for sharing so much with us today.
Yeah, I hope that it was useful, and I hope that it was fun for everybody popping in. So thanks a bunch, Rebecca. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, so just so you know, and anyone watching, it'll be on replay for 24 hours, and then a write-up of this interview will be eventually on the Instaproofs blog. So
Sounds good. I'm excited. Thanks so much.
Okay, see you, Brett.
All right, bye.
Bye.